Welcome to today's stream, and today we are basically going to be doing a bit of tidying up. Okay, so unless my train of thought jumps onto something that needs to be done desperately and seems like a bit of fun, then we're just going to go about some code and tidy stuff up. Right now, the first thing we're going to have a look at, we're going to do a bit of widget wrangling, as I like to call it, which is basically me stumbling around with widgets. Although it has to be said, sometimes it can be a little more complicated. But first thing is we now have this working properly, where we're going to be able to update what's available to the player and they can drop onto their hotbar. Okay, so for example, if they wanted a refiner 2, they can drop it directly onto the hotbar. Okay, from last night you can right click on one of these and swap them over like so. So you can basically customize the hotbar in any way you see fit. Okay, so that's all good, but first thing I want is for this to basically fill out properly. Okay, and even if they were all lined up like so, I wouldn't be happy with it, but I'd be fairly okay, right? But I really want this to look uniform. Okay, so this actually might have to all change. I'm actually beginning to think that these things here are going to have to be split into two, because I believe the distance between this and this and this and this are the same. Right, so these aren't going to line up because these are in grid panels. Okay, so that is my thoughts behind this, but for the moment it is working. We just haven't got it, what's the word I'm looking for here? We haven't got it set up exactly how we want it as far as the looks go. Okay, now it would appear to me that we really shouldn't mess with that, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to pull this down. Right? And this is the close. So this is all looking pretty good. And we don't need this anymore. And we are going to do that except we're going to check it and get it to run properly so that our player colors work correctly. Okay, so we've got our controller there, which is fine. Now we do need to check another one of these. Okay, so we'll check inventory main. go to the graph, and we'll check here's setup colors here. We've got image background, text building, and button close, right? So we'll go back to our hotbar management, right? And we know these all go in basically over here. So we'll paste these in. Now, the question is, do we have these? We have image background. We have text building name, and we have button close, right? So these should basically go in here. And here is our blur. So we can put that in there. And then this should all be hunky-dory. Okay, so hi Elior, how you doing, mate? Otoboyev. I hope I pronounced that. I probably butchered it, but there you go. So we're going to straighten this stuff up a bit, and that's fine. Right, and if we run this now, we shouldn't get any errors on this. And we don't. So that's fine. Okay, we obviously moved this up a bit so it's not covering any of our other things there. Right, but this kind of now means that we need to actually do something with this. Now, if we remember rightly, we can pop that in and out, even though I'm still not entirely happy with that, to be fair. Right, I still don't kind of like, well, I like it, right, but it's not quite right to be perfectly honest about it. So what we could do is, if we go to main menu, except it's not the main menu, it's the main game menu. And if we go to the graph for this, well, since we're tidying things up, we'll tidy things up. How's about that for an idea? We did say we were going to tidy things up, so let's tidy things up. Right. So since we are tidying up, let's actually tidy up. That looks like a bit of spaghetti, but in some cases there's not an awful lot I can do about it. Right, but it's actually on B. Right, so we need to go to our controller. Okay, and once we go to our controller, we're on our event graph there, but it's one of our test buttons that's controlling this. So it's going to be up here somewhere. and that is our animation. And it's in our main menu, right? So we were in the right place. Right? And we've got our animation here. So we click on timeline. And that was on 30. Right, so we could actually change this. Let's change it to 20 and save it. As I said, we're not working on anything too heavy today unless one of you guys actually comes up with something that you want to see me working on. I'm still not even convinced it needs to be that much. Let's take a look at this. Right? If I add, like, let's add a button in here, right? Right? And that's about enough. In fact, probably 2. And this is doing it on alignment, right? So in theory, right, we could probably do 2. Right, so yeah, that's good. Strange thing is when the first time you press it, it kind of disappears and then comes back again for some reason. Oh, it's very humid here. Very humid indeed. So we can delete that, right? And then let's have a look at this again. I'm just wondering what this restore state will be. So we'll hit that and we'll try it. Yeah, we don't want restore state. Okay, we don't want restore state, so we'll leave it at that. For just now. Now the interesting thing here is, I'm not 100% sure, right? I'll tell you what, we'll do that, we'll leave the 1 on restore state, right? Because that might be the thing that's making it basically jump away. You see how it comes back immediately? Hi Zeno, thanks for the question. Yes and no. You can get things working pretty fast. Well, okay, let me put this another way. You can get things looking as if they're working pretty fast, right? But doing things correctly and making sure that you're covering all the bases is a different matter. Okay, so you'll be able to get results on the screen that'll please you quite quickly. And there's a million different tutorials out there. Okay, actually this is something I was going to talk about. For anybody watching whatever, right? Don't use tutorials to fill in your code. Okay, so if you've got like a tutorial that's how to do wall running, okay? Don't use it to write the code to do wall running. What you want to do is you want to use the tutorial to show you the basics of how you would implement wall running, right? Because if you don't use it as a tutorial on how to do certain things in Unreal Engine, then you're never going to be able to fix the code in the first place. Okay, so if you have a problem at all with that tutorial, or you want to change that tutorial at all, you aren't going to be able to do it, right? So everything I've made in this game so far, I have done it myself, right? Or if I've used the tutorial, which I'm not sure I actually have, the only thing I did was the rocket launcher, right? But I'm still thinking about doing that my own way as well. But the thing is, don't use tutorials as a fix to a problem that you've got in your program or in your game. Use it as a way to solve the problem yourself. Okay? So, like, for example, when I was doing this hotbar, I just went with what I knew from experience and built the hotbar, right? I didn't use a tutorial that said how to make a hotbar. Okay, I just used what I know from experience and then made it myself. Okay? Because then you know what the code is doing, you know how it works, you should have a good idea of why it's working and why it's doing what it's doing, and you should be able to build on that. Okay, so Unreal Engine will give you a good start and give you some nice looking graphics and stuff, but it's the same with Unity, it's the same with every game engine, right? They all advertise that you can write a game, and yes, you can, right? But there's a heck of a lot more to it. Okay, you ain't going to be able to write a game unless you can program for a kickoff, or you at least know the fundamentals of programming and how it relates to blueprints, if you're going to do it in blueprints. So all of this stuff you see here, none of it was taken from, actually, funnily enough, this was actually kind of taken from a tutorial, but it wasn't. Again, I used the basics of a few tutorials together to come up with my own solution, right? So like, I looked at a tutorial for draw lines, and then I solved the problem of how to draw these lines between different things, okay? Another one is for the connectors. I looked at a tutorial about how to do splines, and then I solved the problem of how to draw the splines the way I wanted to do it, right? And there isn't a tutorial that teaches you how to do what I'm doing here, right? But if you go through the basics of the spline tutorials and understand what they're doing and how they're doing it, then you can change it to do exactly what you want, okay? So again, same thing for moving stuff along the splines and stuff like that. Again, I used a tutorial and then built my own solution. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is, don't expect Unity, Unreal Engine, Godot, whatever game engine it is to write the game for you. It won't, right? It just won't. It'll give you a good start, but that's it. So you can see here that there's a lot of stuff going on. You can look at graphs. Right, of production. Thank you very much, Young Min Kim. That's very kind words. So you can look at the graphs of production. This, again, comes from a plugin, but there's not much help on this plugin, so you've just got to kind of work things out yourself. Right, you figure stuff out yourself. Right, so got production graphs, you can switch these off and on. Again, had to learn how to do this myself. But once you get the basics of Unreal Engine, how it works and stuff like that, all this stuff becomes a lot simpler. Having said that, I struggled with this for about a week, but I would still call it straightforward. It's just little technical issues, right? But as you can see here, we've got this. I can speed the game up. Wait a minute. Right, we can speed the game up, and then we can hit the stats button. Then this will start going faster. You'll notice the research type 1 has joined the party. And we don't want that. We want this. Right. Yeah, that's there's a couple of these are sort of matching each other in their iron ore and bauxite are actually matching each other step for step. Right. So there's stuff like that. You can, this is in 10 seconds, but I can change it to minutes. Right. And you can see that gradually the amount being generated goes up, and that's each minute, so you can see the production going up each minute. Stuff like that, a lot of stuff you just got to learn yourself, right? So also there's likes of drones, right? So I'll show you the drones in action. The drones are parked at the player base, right? But when we actually do like this and make a mine, I want a lot of squares basically here. Right, what you'll see is all our drones will take off. This is all AI. All of this stuff here is done by AI. And they're going to fly over here, and then they're going to start scanning. They'll drop down. They'll start scanning. Right? Some of this doesn't happen in the right order yet, but the basics are there for it. Then they'll lift off again. And they'll turn around and fly back to base. So you see them flying back to base. Then they'll turn around, drop down, and switch off. I like to call that the drone ballet, okay? So you can do all this stuff in Unreal Engine, but you've got to work at it, you know? Anyway, what were we looking at? Can't remember. Oh yeah, so this is the part where we customize our hotbar, right? But we need to change it slightly because this, we're going to need to think of a way. We've got the buildings hotbar, okay? And we've got the connectors hotbar, right? But we need a way to like connect this with this. Right, now I can think of one way of doing it, that if you've got this hotbar selected and you hit the button for the hotbar settings, then it will bring up the buildings one, right? And then if you've got this one selected and you bring up the hotbar, it will select the one for connectors. Now I haven't done the connectors yet, and I wasn't going to do it live because I don't want to go through the same, basically the same process with the other thing. Right, now we should have finished. Oh, we haven't joined it up, that's why. Right, so you're now going to see, oh, this is going to go fast. Right, so we've done a lot of research. We've got it all stored up in here. Right? And we've ran out now. But what you'll see is our research going up, right? There's our research filling up. Right? As it processes each research canister, it will go up like 10% or so. Okay, and then basically what it's going to do, oh, I don't know if you heard that or not, but that was a bit of thunder. I'm guessing it was preceded by some lightning. So what we'll see is when our research has completed, it's going to basically pop up and tell us. Yep, it's just about to go, just about to pop. Right, there you go. Popped up. And then the next thing we can do is we can select another one, right? And then this is going to start researching. There we go, it started. As I say, I think it takes 30 seconds per research thing, right, to go. But we can just leave that running. We can speed it up as well. Can let you see that. Once you speed it up, it will start going a lot faster. Take about 15 seconds. We're about to get hit with some thunder again. Now, you might be looking. Oh, by the way, you know, if you're still watching, thanks for the sub. Right, so we have our research going up again. And there goes our refining one. Okay. And we can now select. Like, you'll notice that these are unavailable, and that's because we need to do either this one or this one so that we can do it, right? But we can basically fill up the research tree. Okay. And we can work with it from there. Right, we can also do that. Now that's an interesting one because that's something we need to actually do. We need to fix up this one with the 0 or whatever it's set to. Right. So we're going to have a look at that. That is something we could actually do. You can see here refining 2 is beginning to go up. And the other day we actually sorted out what was going on with the rewards and make them actually do something. Okay. So, main point being here that we need to sort out our hotbar, where our hotbar is actually going to do a 0. Now, I do know why that's not working, and that's because it's been programmed not to work yet. Right, you'll see that in a minute when I bring this up. Right, because what you'll see here, it's not there. Is we've got 2 here that's going to be fill blank and something else or not. Right? And if we go in here, I'm going to now have to get reacquainted with this so that I can understand what's going on. It's basically because we don't want the 0 to be 0. We want the 0 to be 10. Or in actual fact 9, right? Because we go index starts at 0. So we need to basically count the other way around. So we're creating the hotbar blank. Okay. So let's go to here, and then we go in here, and this is one of the places I need to tidy up actually. Right, and that's the drag drop. It's the event graph we want for this, to be fair. And we don't seem to do that there. So I'm actually guessing that we were in the right place originally in the hotbar. Right. And that's what goes around there. So we're clearing the children, and then if it's none, we fill in a blank. Okay. So let's go to fill the blanks. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually create a new game here, so that these are all basically reset. We'll just call it hot. Okay. And well, first of all, those are all okay under the correct and we create the individual building button. Right. So the thing here we're going to enable those breakpoints, right? And basically we're going to come through here and right. So our first value is this value here. Right, now it's probably not going to tell us, but we know it's a refiner. Okay, and all we actually need to do is keep an eye on this integer if it's going to let us, which it's not. Right, so we can resume that, and we can step over, right? Then this is going to give us a building, well, it should have gave us a building name, or at least it will. Right, but what we can do is we can have a look at this, which is this thing here. Right, and it's not got any code apparently, which I'm not buying. Right, because it does have an image. Now that's the blank. Right, okay, we're going to stop this for now. We're going to open this one. We're going to go to the graph. I'm going to go to the event graph. And this is the thing here. That basically should build it for us. Alright, so that's all good. We don't need to worry about that. And this is the hotbar click. Now it's going to jump out at me in a minute, right? Well, I'm looking at something wrong. I'm looking at the wrong thing here, and I haven't quite worked out or got back in the groove of what the right thing is. Right? It's either in the hotbar, right? And you can see this here. Okay. Then we can find references. And we can see here where that is being set. And we can take a look here, and our text key is what we're interested in here and where it's being set. Right? That's where we need to find out where it's being set from. Okay, so it's in our hotbar main, and it's in our hotbar fill blanks, which we would expect. Right, and here is where we're setting it. So we're going to have to get it here when it hits. I'm basically thinking it should be 9, okay? But for some reason, the 9th one doesn't do anything. So we need to check that out. Okay? So I don't actually know why that doesn't say 9. Right? So we're going to add a breakpoint there and there. And before we test it, I'm going to grab a quick cigarette. I shall be back in 2 minutes. Take your time, guys, to hit the like and subscribe, and check the description out for links to other ways to support the channel and stuff like that, and to my Discord. I shall be back in 2 minutes, guys. Don't go anywhere. Alright guys, we're back and we're going to sort this out once and for all. Let me just get that off the screen. And we're passing in this text key. Except we're not. We're getting it for our keys, right? So this is our hotbar main. Okay, so we want to have a look at this when we run it. Okay, and in actual fact, it's this one, right? Right, it's this one here. This is the issue, and it's because we do 1 to 9. Right, and this is why there's sequences here. Okay, because it already had an inkling that this was going to be an issue. Or not an issue, it's just something that we've got to code around. Because 0 is the first index, but 0 is on the right hand side of your, like, your numbers at the top, as if it was like your normal keyboard hotbar, right? So if you're going 1 to 10, 0 is actually at 10, right? But in this loop, we're putting it at 0, right? So all we actually need to do is this same thing, this same code, but we pass in 0, okay? So what we do, well, the easiest way to do it So the easiest way to do it here is actually to copy this. Now this isn't the most efficient way, although it actually wouldn't make any difference in the final version, right? And we basically leave that exactly as it is. Okay, and then that's just going to do 0, and then it'll add it to the end of this array. So in theory, that should work. We'll get rid of that for now. Resume that. Yeah, we're going to have to disable some of these to check it in the first instance, and we'll see if there's a problem. Right, resume that, and resume that, and there we go. We now have our 0, which is perfect. Okay. Now let's actually test that once again, right? And the way we're going to test it is we're going to stop it for now, right? We're going to press play again, and we're going to go to our options in key bindings, right? And we shall go to our 0, and we shall change it to what we change it to, guys? N. Right, and then if we continue, we have our N. So that's working perfectly. Superb. This was what I mean by tidying up, just fixing these little issues that I knew were outstanding and I knew wouldn't take a heck of a lot of work. But there we go. Now, one of the other things is that these aren't set. But they are set from somewhere. Right, so where I've originally set these up, or are we going to just ignore that issue for now? An interesting thing. Well, I think there's one thing we've got to do. We've got to test the actual hotbar works with the N. Right, so if I hit N, right, whatever this is, it's a metalworks, so that's right. Okay, so our hotbar is working absolutely perfectly and is totally configurable. Now, with that in mind, do we start working on the connector one? Now, what I propose here, right, is that you hit a button, right, and it brings up this, and you can configure the hotbar, right? You can drag and drop stuff, right? You can swap stuff, and I'll guess you guys heard that. Right, that's thunder outside. So you can do that, and then you can swap these, blah blah blah, and do all that, right? But if you click on this one, the connector one, do we change this, or do we have one huge big list of everything? Right? Now, what I'm suggesting here is if you click the connector button while this is open, it changes to the connectors, right? Because you can't drag a fabricator onto the connector hotbar, or that wouldn't make sense, right? And you can't click a connector onto the building hotbar, because that wouldn't make sense. Okay? So, if that's the case, then we need an enumerator. Right? We basically need an enumerator. So, we're going to say blueprints, enumeration, then we're going to say E hotbar mode. Okay, then we're going to go open that up, and we're going to add new, we'll add 4, right? 4 is about the max I can think of at the moment, but it might change. So we'll have buildings. We'll have connectors. We'll have let's say vehicles, and then let's say we'll have military. Okay, we'll save that. Right, and then in our player controller, right, so this is already open, but we'll just get the right thing. We'll have a variable, and it's going to be called hotbar mode, and it's going to be of the type hot. Apparently, I hate it when it does that. It just seems to lose focus for no reason. Right, so we say hotbar mode, right, and it's going to default. So we're going to save that, right, and it's going to default to buildings. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll put this in a category, right, and we'll call it modes. Okay, we won't, according to Unreal Engine. We'll call it modes, right, and now we can actually put current game mode in modes as well, right, and that keeps them together. So we've got current game mode, hotbar mode, and is there any other modes? Nah, I wouldn't say so. Right, I think this current, we can probably get rid of this. Let's find references. Didn't think there would be anything. Right, so we'll delete that. Okay, we won't delete the text, we'll delete the whole thing. Right. So, next, it's going to default and the next thing we need to do is we need to look at our main hotbar, right? And if we go to our designer and then each of these buttons on clicked, right? So we'll swap these round to the right way round first. Okay, so it's button 0, right? And then we've got, we should really name these something a bit better. Alright, so this shouldn't be that. So go back to designer. And this should actually be two. Okay. And then now if we go back to the graph, right? We're going to go to there, and we don't have, yes we do, we have the controller, so we get the controller, right, and we can set hot bar mode to buildings. Okay. and then we set it here as well. Right, except for this one we say connectors, and we can join that in there just for a laugh. We could better actually just, yeah, I'm not happy with that. Right, we're actually going to do it like that. And like that. Then we're going to duplicate this twice. And we're going to say vehicles, and we're going to say military. These aren't going to do anything right now because they're not actually set up yet, but in the end they will. And we just need to basically get our widget switcher buttons in. In fact, our widget switcher button for this can go to here. Okay, so it's non-clicked. Then we can just basically move it up and do that. And it's not actually going to do anything for the moment. I'm just going to undo that so it doesn't change anything there, right? Because in reality it's not actually doing anything. And just so this doesn't muck about, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that and paste it. And we're going to go 64, 64. That's normal, hovered. Then we want pressed to be the same. Paste that, 64, 64, right, and it shouldn't do any of that weird stuff when we hover over it now. So what we should be able to do now, right, is let's just stop that, because I don't think what we want to do is have a look at hotbar mode in our controller. So when we press play and continue, right, we can say controller. So we'll look at FE controller, and it should be here somewhere. Yeah, here it's here, modes, hotbar mode. So it's on buildings right now. So, but if we click this, you'll notice it's on now on connectors, right? Buildings, connectors. Okay. So the question now is, when we hit the button to make our hotbar customization window, are we going to make it actually a widget switcher, or are we going to create another, basically a copy, but where it is going to reference the connectors instead, right? That's our two things that we can actually have a look at, right? So when we come in here, or sorry, when we come in here, right, what we could do is fill this with a widget switcher. Right? So we could do it that way, or we could copy this whole window, this whole widget, and basically just add the data source to be the connectors rather than the buildings, right? So interesting. So the issue here would be if we wrap this in a widget switcher and then copy and pasted it, right, that would actually work, right? So we could wrap this. I'll tell you what we'll do, right? This is hotbar management. So what we'll do is we'll duplicate it, right, just in case we need to go back, and then we'll say, we'll call it backup. Okay? So what we can do is we can wrap this with a widget switcher, and basically we can say VB underscore for vertical box underscore buildings. Okay? And then what we can do is we can duplicate that vertical box, and then we can change the name over to VB underscore connectors. Okay? And that's going to give us, if we click on this, it's going to give us something that looks exactly the same, right? So we'll change this to be WS underscore hotbar mode. Okay? I'm getting into this now. Normally I hate doing this kind of stuff, but then once you start, you kind of get addicted to it because it's going to make cool things happen. So we're going to save that, right? And in here, in the graph, once we've got this, right, we're going to say from the controller yeah, we got that right. Okay, whatever. So this is going to say hotbar, get hotbar mode, right? Then we're going to say to int, because this is going to directly control which mode we're in, right? And then we're going to get our widget switcher. And then we're going to say active index, and we're going to set it, right? And we can pop that in there. We can drag that to there. Right? And there we go. And now the interesting thing is going to be when we click on our hotbar main, we go to our graph, right? Then what we do is we get all widgets of class, right? And it's going to be hotbar management, right? So if the hotbar is open, if a hotbar is open, we're going to say for each okay, and then we're going to say WS and then we're going to set active widget, right? No, not set active widget. We're going to active widget index, then we're going to grab the controller and we're going to say hotbar mode. Okay. And we're going to say to int. That's going to go in there. Okay, so basically what we're saying here is once these have done this, right, they've set up their own hotbar things, when they've clicked that one of those buttons, then it looks to see if our hotbar management is open, and if it is, it sets it to the new current or the current hotbar. Okay. So, what that means for us is when we go in here, let's see what we've got here. Yeah, we're going to have to build the connectors. Okay. and these are all going to be like close 1, close 2, blah blah blah. Right, now the close 1, close 2, they can get moved out of the widget switcher, but we'll leave them for now. Okay, we'll work with it and see what we've got. But on that, I'm going to grab a quick cigarette. So if you're watching and enjoying it, then like and subscribe and check the description for other ways to support the channel and join the Discord. And I shall be back in 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere, guys. I shall be right back. Okay guys, we're back. So let's get on with this. Let's get rid of that and off we go again. Right, so we have now got a second set of stuff. Okay. And these are going to change. Okay. So let's prepare for that change, shall we? We've got ARGP. And the thing we're going to do is we are going to duplicate it. But the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to change this to GP underscore buildings, except we're going to spell it right. If that's at all possible for me. So say buildings, and in this one we're going to change it to underscore connectors. Okay. And this one, we'll save that. And in our connectors, we're going to have 3 to begin with. Okay, we're not going to do that. Right, what we're going to do is we're going to have to create or change our things here, and I believe it's splitter. Right. Then it's conveyor. Now this isn't an exhaustive list, by the way. Alright. And that is going to be combiner. Okay. And then we're going to say delete that, delete that, delete that, and delete that. Okay. So we're basically going to do this, except we're not. We're going to do that, and we're going to set this. Then we're going to make array. We're going to put that up there. That's going to connect nicely to that, and then we can do so it's going to be our splitter. Right, we're going to add, then it's going to be our conveyor, and then it's going to be our combiner. Right, so we're going to save that, and we actually are going to look at the graph, because we're going to need this as well. I don't know if this is actually going to work. Right, so we'll duplicate it anyway. And this is where things might have to change a bit, but we'll find out in a minute. And we'll say connector type, right? We'll save that, and you'll notice we don't have do we have a connector type? Connector type. If we refresh that, not really. Okay, let's try that again. We have connection type. I don't know if this is going to be it either. Right, so that's a totally different thing. So we need a bit of a think about this, to be fair. Right. Because we need to be able to determine what each of the things are, whether it's a splitter, a conveyor, or a combiner, right? And if that's not in the building type, then we're kind of screwed. It's actually in the minor, it's actually in the menu connectors. Right, now this connector type should not just be connector. Right? Connector type. Right, so we need to see what this is. We need to see what E connector type is. And we need to change it. Right, so it's not in there. So it's in here. Right, so we can leave that. Now, I don't know if this is going to screw everything up, right? But we'll try it anyway. So it was splitter, conveyor, combiner. Okay, and in our, if we go now, we go back to our DT menu connectors, we've got a splitter, apparently they're the wrong way around, right, but anyway, we'll combine our conveyor, and then splitter. Right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to here and I'm going to change these to the right way around. I don't think it's going to make any difference. Right, so that's going to be combiner. That's going to be splitter. Right, so we can save that. And now, combiner, conveyor, splitter. That's fine. Right. And now, it's not that one. It's this one. This one. This is going to be connector type. Right, now it's going to be, yeah, it was in this order, wasn't it? No, it was actually another order. Right, let's have a look again. Combiner, conveyor, splitter. Now, I'm just trying to get this working at the moment. I don't think these need to be in any particular order, right? But these need to be in the same order as these, right? So we're going to trash these, and then we're going to add 3, and it's going to be combiner, conveyor, splitter. Okay. And now in here we're going to do a very similar thing to this. So we're going to copy this. I'm going to copy it. Right. We're going to paste it. Now it's going to need a bit of work, but in effect it should work. So that comes for there, and we're not using, right, so what we're going to have to do is get that, and then for each. Right, so we'll drag that down, and then we'll drag that to there. So we've got an array element. Right, now our first issue is going to be over here. Right, but that's okay. That's okay, we're going with that so far. We're okay with that, but this is now going to change to DT menu connectors. Okay, and that is going to be the same. Now this is going to change, obviously. Right. And Right, so we don't have a category. Right. But that's actually okay, because it's actually just the name. Interesting. Alright, so we can delete that. And we can say toString. Right, and that goes in there. Right, so that bit's okay. We're cool with that. Right, that can go into there, that's okay. And then can this go into here? Nah, I didn't think it would like that, but that's okay as well. So what we do is we say equals and then we can drag this to here. Then we can delete that. Right. We can put that there. Then we can drag this all the way over here. Then we can delete that. And that's fine. We can put that there. Then we can drag this down. Then this can go away. Drag this back up. Drag that in. Drag that in. And we're kind of ready to go. Or at least we're ready to try and test it. Now we might need that image. Yeah, we do. Right. So we have the image. That can go in there. Then we can drag it up again. Right, we can check this again to see if we need any other things. And apparently not. Shall we test it, guys? I think we should. Right. So we'll save all. And let's try this out, shall we? I thought that would happen. Alright, I was kind of half expecting that. Whenever you make really wacky changes to certain things, it has got a habit of just going, nah, no thanks. We're not doing that today. Right, how bad a crash was it? Not very. You can tell how bad a crash it is by if it starts loading up widgets and all that stuff again fast, then it's not been too much of an issue. But what we'll do is we shall go to here and we shall gradually move along this list. So the build connectors ain't going to do anything, and maybe I should just start a new game as well just to make sure. Right, so there we've got a hotbar, right, and if we press O we get a thing, and if we click that we get nothing, which is right, that's exactly what we expect. Okay, so that's cool. That's indomitably cool. So what we'll do next is we'll stop that, we'll come to here and we'll add the first part to the grid. Right, so this should add the names of our different groups. Right, so press O and press that, and that does nothing, which is ace. Now it has put it onto the right grid because obviously that close button now doesn't. Wait a minute. Hang on a tickety boo. We press stop. Yeah, that's wrong. Right, okay. This shouldn't be GP buildings. Right. This should be GP connectors. Okay. Right. So now when we play, we should get the headers. Right. So press 0, that's cool. Press that, that's cool. Right, so that's all working nicely. Okay, so we can move to the next part of the code. And we'll let it run, I think. So we'll save that, we'll run that. In fact, what we'll do is we'll do a save all. Right. We'll hit O. Perfect. Perfecto. There you go, guys. How's that for super smashing great? Now the thing is, okay, so something we're going to need to do something with our drag drop to find out which hotbar we're on. Okay, but that's fine. And on that, I think we'll call it for this afternoon. We've made excellent progress. We've got a couple of things to iron out, but on the whole, we now have a connector, and the drag drop is still functional, but I need to link it to the particular hotbar that we're on at that particular time. So, if you've enjoyed the stream, once again, hit like, subscribe, and check out the description. If you want to help the channel, add my previous game, which is in the description, add it to your wish list. Doesn't cost anything. If you want to support the channel, then you can join the Patreon or buy my previous game, and you're welcome to join my Discord. All the links are in the description. Thanks very much, and I shall see you later at 8 PM Central tonight. Bye bye for now.